All right, team, third or fourth or fifth. Already lost track. Rides on the Revolver. Today we're out here in Santa Clara doing some of the rocky stuff. Currently on precipice. Plan today is to climb all the way to the top of the trail, formerly known as Suicidal Tendencies. We made it to the top of the trail formerly known as Suicidal Tendencies. I think the officials are now calling it Serpentine. Gonna drop in the dark, see how this goes. I have done this once in the dark before. Sketchiest time we came out here to sleep up at the top, and it was super dark. I hadn't brought a very powerful light, so this turn right at the top, man, it just felt like you were turning at the top of an abyss, which you kind of are, I guess. But it felt right here. That felt really sketchy that night. Other than that, it's really not a big deal, right? This little section is where the tombstone is. You see a rock on the left. It's shaped almost exactly like a tombstone. That's the name. How does it make that last word? Nice. All right, crew, just got to the top of Suicidal Tendencies, or the trail formerly known as Suicidal Tendencies Serpentine on the Revolver 130. Really impressed with the way this bike climbs. A couple of thoughts as I'm coming up. The higher pressure that Norco has recommended does feel like it maybe is affecting the small bump compliance a little bit. I don't have a shock pump with me today to adjust that, but I think the next ride I'm going to set this up the way I normally would and see how that does. In general, I'm actually really impressed with the way the suspension feels. This thing definitely climbs. It wants to go. The faster you go on this bike, the better it handles. It can, with the longer cockpit, feel a little twitchy when you're at really slow speeds, especially in tight turns, which is kind of where we're at on this trail. So, in general, really excited about this bike. Super stoked. This is definitely a bike that a Nike racer could take advantage of. A $3,900 bike with a super high-end frame that just wants to go fast, lightweight, moves. Be a great bike for a Nike kid. Yeah, gonna rip down this downhill and report back. So moving the lever out, like I talked about in the last video on the brakes, makes a huge difference with these things. Actually want to move them out just a little bit more so I can get right to the very end of the lever, just from an ergonomic standpoint at this point, but that certainly helps the power of the brake for obvious reasons, more leverage. And good. Not coming to an end now, but pretty good. Sending back into the saddle, into the saddle, coming around the corner. We're gonna go back past this turning stone, done the whole downhill of the loop. Bike handled as expected. I found myself boosting off of more stuff with this bike because it like begged for it. There's the tombstone. You see right where the trail goes between those rocks. My wife actually wrecked and went over the top of that at one point. Did what I just did here, handlebars on the rocks. Love being up here in the morning. Alright, so I just got done with the trail formerly known as Suicidal Tendencies. Had a great ride. Like I've said, this bike just wants to rip. Really likes going fast. Which the flip side of that is it doesn't really like to go slow. If I would say this bike has a weakness, its pretty specific weakness is tight, slow switchbacks. Which probably says more about Suicidal Tendencies than it does this bike. In general, this bike, I'm really impressed with it. Updating or adjusting the brake levers to where they are made a huge difference. I am, as I mentioned, will reset up the suspension to where I think it should be and kind of compare the two. I do like the way it is, but the small bump compliance is a little bit lacking. So I'll report back on that. Be sure to like and subscribe so you catch the next video in the series. And we'll see you next time.